The year is 1542. In a cold Scottish winter, a newborn child is crowned a queen. Before she can even walk, before she can speak, destiny places a crown upon her head. Her name is Mary Stuart. History will know her as Mary, Queen of Scots. A woman born to rule, yet fated to lose everything. Mary was just 6 days old when her father, King James I of Scotland, died. An infant on the throne, she instantly became a prize in the dangerous game of European power. Her kingdom, Scotland, was torn between alliances with Catholic France and Protestant England. And at the center of this storm stood Mary, too young to choose, but old enough to be used. To keep her safe from scheming English lords, Mary was sent to France as a child to be raised among royalty. In the glittering, sophisticated halls of the French court, she blossomed. She learned languages, poetry, politics, and charm. She grew tall, striking, elegant, and intelligent. To the French, she was the perfect bride for their future king. At 16, she married the young Dauphin, Francis becoming Queen of France as well as Scotland. For a fleeting moment, her future looked dazzling. She was queen of 2 powerful kingdoms, a young woman seemingly blessed by fortune. But fate is a fickle thing. Her husband, Francis, died after only 2 years on the throne. At just 18, Mary was a widow. Her crown in France was gone, and her power became fragile. With no real place left in the French court, she made the difficult decision to return to Scotland, a homeland she barely knew, a kingdom now deeply divided by religion and the ambitions of powerful nobles. Back in Edinburgh, she tried to rule with grace and tolerance, attempting to balance the needs of Catholics and Protestants, nobles and commoners. But her personal life, particularly her choice of husbands, would ultimately shape her tragic destiny. Her second husband, Henry Stuart, Lord Darnley, was handsome and of royal blood, but also arrogant, ambitious, and dangerously weak. Their union, which started with passion, soured quickly. Darnley, consumed by thirst for power, demanded to be made king in his own right, but Mary refused. Then, the first of many scandals erupted. Darnley grew intensely jealous of Mary's Italian private secretary, David Rizzio. One horrifying night, as Mary, then 6 months pregnant, dined in her private chambers, Darnley and his allies burst in. Rizzio was dragged away from her, screaming, and stabbed over 50 times. Blood stained the palace floor while Mary, held back by her husband, was forced to watch. Her heart hardened. Her trust in those around her was shattered. A few months later, she gave birth to a son, James, the boy who would one day unite the thrones of England and Scotland. But Mary's world was already falling apart. Her husband, Darnley, was murdered soon after in a mysterious explosion at his house. His body was found in the garden, apparently strangled. Whispers and rumors immediately pointed to Mary's involvement, though no proof was ever found. Making matters worse, she soon married the very man widely suspected of orchestrating Darnley's death, the bold and reckless nobleman, James Hepburn, Earl of Bothwell. To her enemies, and even to many of her supporters, this was an unforgivable act. It looked like an admission of guilt. The Scottish lords rose in rebellion. They saw their chance to seize control. Mary was captured, imprisoned, and forced to abdicate her throne. Her crown was ripped from her head and placed on that of her infant son James, who was declared the new king. The once radiant queen of 2 realms was now a captive in her own kingdom. But Mary was a fighter. She would not accept defeat so easily. In a daring move, she escaped her island prison and raised an army to reclaim her throne. Yet her forces were crushed at the Battle of Langside. With nowhere left to turn in Scotland, she made a fateful decision. She fled across the border into England, seeking refuge and help from her cousin, Queen Elizabeth I. It was a fatal mistake. Elizabeth, the pragmatic and cautious Virgin Queen of England, saw in Mary not a desperate cousin, but a dangerous rival. To many Catholics across Europe, Mary was the rightful Queen of England, a living, breathing challenge to Elizabeth's Protestant throne. What began as a plea for sanctuary quickly turned into captivity. Mary was moved from castle to castle, year after year, her freedom always just out of reach. For 19 long years, she lived as a prisoner, embroidering, praying, and relentlessly plotting her escape, her letters pleading for release. But her enemies in England worked tirelessly to paint her as a conspirator, a constant danger to Elizabeth's rule and the stability of the nation. Eventually, they found what they needed: evidence, whether real or forged, that Mary had supported a plot to assassinate Queen Elizabeth. It was enough. A reluctant Elizabeth finally signed the death warrant. On a cold February morning in 1587, Mary Stuart walked calmly to the execution block. She was dressed in crimson, the color of Catholic martyrdom. She held her head high, prayed aloud, forgave her executioners, and knelt. The axe fell. With her death, the life of a queen ended, and the legend of a martyr began. But Mary's story did not end in that blood-soaked hall. Her son, James, raised as a Protestant, far from her influence, would eventually inherit not only the throne of Scotland, but also that of England, following Elizabeth's death. In time, he would unite the crowns under one rule, fulfilling the destiny Mary had once dreamed of for herself. Yet history remembers her as the queen who lost everything: her throne, her freedom, her reputation, and her life. She was a woman trapped by ambition, betrayal, and the ruthless politics of her age. Mary, Queen of Scots, remains one of history's most tragic figures. Beautiful, intelligent, and brave, but ultimately undone by fate and the men who sought to control her. Her life was a dramatic tale of crowns and prisons, love and blood, hope and despair. And even now, centuries later, her name still carries the weight of that powerful tragedy. Mary's story is not just history. It is a timeless warning. Power can crown you in one breath and strip you bare in the next. If this tale of a queen's rise and fall moved you, there are more powerful women whose voices still echo across time. Subscribe and walk with us through the shadows and triumphs of the queens who ruled. Thanks for watching.